send me, darling, you send me, darling, you do, darling, you do, darling, you do, darling, you send me, darling, you send me, darling, you send me, darling, you do, darling, you do. All right, everyone. I believe we may be back from our short break. Maybe not. It looks to me like Zoom is not gonna cooperate. Well, frustrating as that may be, we're just gonna continue our conversation by audio. Why? Because we will not be deterred. It's just not going down like that. So we're going to go ahead and get Reverend Michael back and continue our conversation. You know what's funny? He is quite loquacious. So am I. And what's so crazy is we've only answered the first question. Yeah, we have been going in and it's been great. So we're going to go ahead and continue our conversation because that's what we could do. That's what we got to do. Got to do the thing. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and get Reverend Michael back on the line here. And let's go ahead and finish our conversation. Hey, Rev. So Zoom is not cooperating, so we just go ahead and continue this on the phone.
Okay, that's no problem.
Because it is being stubborn. I was just telling the folks that we only got through the first question. If you can believe that.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's great. You know,
I talk a lot, man.
No, there's
sometimes.
That's perfect. The whole thing is it's really the purpose of me creating this podcast is to be able to have the conversations with folks, everyday people in different positions, folks from different class, just people from everywhere. And I think what's powerful too is we can look at our clergy and some of our leaders, and we kind of see them, on the pulpit and kind of in this vaulted space. And so to have a just kind of man-to-man conversation, I think is important for folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. I never pretend to be anything more than what I am, brother. I'm a fallible man just like anybody else. I look, just because I got ordained, I still make mistakes. I still make my wife upset at times, and I'm thankful. She still hangs in there, whatever. But yeah, I guess for me, what I'm saying, I learned that at a very young age, not to put anybody on a pedestal and just take everybody for who they are. I don't care who you are, I'm just going to take you for who you are, and I'm not, I don't care if you're the president of the United States. I don't, if I met Barack Obama, I wouldn't be like, let me get a selfie and autograph and yeah, okay, what's up, Obama? I would have more respect for him than that.
Hey, what's up, homie?
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm not gonna, you get what I'm saying? I'm just gonna take you as a person, and I give everybody respect, and like if you're a doctor and you just spent that many years in school, I'm going to show you that due respect of calling you doctor, calling you professor or whatever, because, you've earned that, same way like with, a pastor, I'm going to call you pastor because you've earned that, you know, um, but at the same time, I realize that you're just human, you
Mm.
know, and so I thank God that I learned that at a very early age that people are just people, and we're all fallible. And that's one thing I really love about the Bible is you really see that in like all of these big names like Abraham and David and all that, and you see just how like okay, this was just like anybody else. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
And the only special thing about them is that God, chose to use them in a way, so much that we had to write about 'em. But David, like stole this guy's wife and had him murdered, like for real, bro. That's shady. So yeah,
No
I, I'm
facts.
I'm just I take people as they is, bro, and I continue to just be who I am.
Well, let's continue with our interview. Our second question is about
Okay.
homelessness, and we got an epidemic here in this country, but we have a problem here even in this county. So, what can be done about our homelessness crisis?
Well, I believe like most problems, bruh. You know, it takes people, what I'm saying, one, um, just being willing to sacrifice, and um, being willing to, give up some of them comforts and like looking at people as people and realize that, that we all at some point, are in need of something. Even Bill Gates, he's in need of something. I don't care how much money he got. Okay, so homelessness may not be his problem. We're all in need of something, and we're all in this together. There these people that that don't have a home are just as much a part of our community and society as anybody else. They need to be treated with the same dignity and respect as anybody else. Yeah, some people you know call it what it is, have mental problems, and in this country we've put this taboo on mental issues that thank God is starting to be the veil is starting to be lifted, and people are becoming more comfortable with that. But we have to understand that people are just people and we got to treat them like that. And if we can sit and raise, I done seen all kinds of story, raise money to send a dog back across the country because it ran away from Florida and ended up in Utah. We can, homelessness is unfortunately, it's a choice that America has made,
Mm.
you know, and it's a choice that America is comfortable with right now. Unfortunately, it's not something that can't be overcome. It's a choice that our governments have become comfortable with.
So, if we begin to reduce it, what would that look like?
Well, this kind of goes back, I guess, to some of them earlier conversations where it's not one solution, bro. And I think like that problem that we have in our community where everybody feel like, okay, my idea is the best idea and this is what we got to do, and if we do this then all problems will be solved. No, it's going to take a lot of different minds, what I'm saying, and a lot of different approaches, because again, homelessness people are not a monolith, so just just because something is going to work for one person that's without a home doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to work for the next person that's without a home. And we have to meet each person, as an individual, and see them as a person. We can't just sit here and build this box and then try and stuff everybody inside of it and say, okay, you're homeless. This is what you need. This is what you got to do. And, so forth. No, you know, there's, there's a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, homelessness indeed a epidemic in this country. And unfortunately, here soon, it's gonna skyrocket even beyond where we're at now because of this COVID and this rent issue, and that's another story. But you know there's people that live on the street that's where they want to live. They're
Mm.
not, they're not mentally insane. They're not, addicted to drugs or anything else. And that's, by far a rarity. So don't let me, don't get it twisted. I'm like, oh, well, they want to be out there. No, I'm not saying that. Okay.
All right.
That's by far a rarity. I think most people out there are in need of help of some kind or another. But what I'm saying that to say that we can't just build one box and try and stuff everybody in it.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
there's me and my brother, we talk about this a lot. I have a heart for helping. Like I love people. Um, and my thing is, this country, we definitely have the money, we definitely have the resources, we definitely have the space. There's I don't care what city, town, state you go in, there's abandoned properties everywhere, where we could convert places and house people and do things. This country throws out, tons of food. I mean, literally tons of food every year, every day, you know, um, that could be reallocated. Our government at times actually pays farmers, not to send their goods to the market, just so that they can, keep prices at a certain level or whatever.
Oh
So
wow.
there's things that we're doing to ourselves, that could be rectified, you know, and when we're paying, like, I don't know if you've seen, they did a story, it was on the news or whatever, while we were going through this pandemic, that the farmers, they couldn't get, I think it was potatoes, they couldn't get potatoes to the market. And
Hmm.
so they got together and they started donating them, to different organizations or whatever, and getting them out to people, instead of letting them just go bad. you know Things like that can be done, not just in times of so-called emergencies.
Hmm.
Whenever there's a hurricane or national disasters, if it's in the right community, we can seem to come together and get some money flowing real quick.
Right.
You know, and if we don't think that having our babies, because it's not just all adults,
Hmm.
having our babies, homeless is a national disaster, then something's wrong. I've been homeless before, so I know what that's like. It wasn't on a scale of like having to live on the streets or whatever, under the viaduct or anything like that, but all the same, you know I've been homeless,
Right.
and not just once in my life. So um yeah, people have to stop being selfish, and stop, being so, me orientated. And if we become we orientated, we can really do some amazing things in this world. you know
Well,
I think we've stifled ourselves.
Reverend, one of the things that I was going to say earlier when we were talking was, you know,
Yes, sir.
the deaths aren't a good thing, you know. So I wanna be clear on that. But when I look at the pandemic, and all things have good and bad elements to them, right? And
Yeah.
so during conversations, folks were talking about how their kids are impacted. You know, there's anxiety and depression. There's domestic violence. As an increase, child abuse in the homes, and kids need to be in school, and whatnot. But people didn't really talk about the flip side of that, and being able to actually spend more time with your children and be able to bond and be a little bit more invested in who they are as people and their development, which is a
Mhm.
lot of folks that don't have their kids all the time, or busy, even if your child is in the home, but you're out of the home 12 hours a day and you come home and your kid's already in bed, right? Or
Yeah.
you're military and you're on deployment or whatever, that there are some benefits that came from, needing to be home and having your kids there with you and whatnot. And so my thought on that was the part of sheltering in place that was good, especially when George Floyd was murdered, was nothing was going on in the country. So now,
Mhm.
folks had to say, you know what? I mean, we denied Rodney King, we denied all these other things, cameras, uh, these police cams and everything else. But you had to acknowledge that this happened, right? And so now you got folks marching, and there's all of this, all these folks are now looking at it and paying attention to it. And I actually wanted us to stay, shut down longer.
Oh
And
yeah.
and the reason
Yeah.
is, everyone was clamoring for the NBA to come back and the NFL and whatnot. And it was like, we need the distraction. We want the distraction. We want to think about, something else, anything else. We have COVID fatigue. And as soon as these things started happening, then you started to see Americans shift their focus on police brutality and murder, government sanctioned murder, all the bad things that are happening in the country, and starting to acknowledge it, to now shifting away. And now even that narrative has changed, and now it's Asian Americans, and it's almost like, yeah, well, we've heard your story, we've acknowledged you, and on we go. So I think you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. When we think about homelessness, and what we're going to do about these issues, we are the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. And no one
Yeah.
should be homeless or hungry. Who doesn't want to be? And as you said, there are some people that do want to be homeless, or not have to adhere to the government requirements of what it takes to, pay rent or be a homeowner, taxes, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. But if you do want it, then it should be here for you. I think healthcare, food, shelter, those
Mhm.
are basics. Education, even, it should be staples for American citizens. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally 100%. I'm in agreement with you. You know, and, and you hit a couple of different areas, bro. You know, and I'm trying not to you know take over because I
No,
can
no.
talk. I get passionate about like, bro. You just I get so passionate. Anyway, look, let me tell you. First off, if I'm going too long, just be like, Rev. All
No,
right.
you good. You good.
Listen, listen, let me tell you something. First off, you're right. There is absolutely there's no reason, on God's green earth that what we see happening, you know, not just in America, but around the globe should be happening, and it's only happening because of greed, you
Hmm.
know, people's greed. You look at what's happening in Yemen right now. They are literally in a famine. Like, come on, that's biblical stuff, all right?
Hmm. Hmm.
They are literally in a famine, a man made famine, that this country is, partly responsible for. So like when I say I got a heart for people, bro, it's not just like, Americans, it's people. I believe, what my Bible tells me, that God created us in his image. He didn't create Americans in his image, or, Europeans in his image, or African. He created man and woman in his image. And so I have a heart for people. We have global travesties going on, that is just, insane. What happened to George Floyd? And again, you and I both already know this, but for all those, Trump, supporters, because again, I love my white brothers and sisters. We got some real, good people out there, that, all right, then fought and bled for us, So I'm not gonna say all white folk. I'm gonna say them Trump supporters. Just gonna use it as a generic term for right now. But anyway, that what happened to George Floyd was horrific. Nevertheless, what I'm saying, that was just one example, But because this country is addicted, it is addicted. It has a addiction to violence, to a propensity for violence towards black people. All right. Now, I'm not of the mindset to say people of color. You know what I'm saying? I don't adhere to that. I really don't like the term black, because I ain't black. You know what I'm saying? I'm more brown than any Mexican man. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. I love my Mexican brothers and sisters too. Don't get it twisted. I'm just talking about color right now. Anyway, I ain't black. But anyway, America has addiction towards, being violent towards us. So in the wake of what happened, of George Floyd, even right now, as, his upscale, highly high paid, highly recommended lawyer, wiggles and swiggles to try and get, that perfect jury of his peers happening right now. We still have our people being slaughtered in the streets, at a time when you think that police was kind of like take a step back and say, hey, you know what, we don't want to draw any more attention to ourselves. you know, they are still, perpetrating the same crimes that they have been perpetrating against us since day one. This isn't a new issue that started, what I'm saying, in the last, 10, 20 years, the last 50 years. Look, since we got here, matter of fact, they was doing it to us on the ride over. Okay. So this ain't like something that's new. They have, what I'm saying, a mindset that they will not let go of. You know what I'm saying? So there's this addiction, what I'm saying, to violence towards us. I just watched a video a couple of days ago. And when I say like little petite little girl, who can I compare? Okay, Jada Smith. You
Yes,
know how small
absolutely. Oh, did I lose you?
Rochester. Is that me or you?
Oh, I think that was you.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Am I
We
still
got
here?
you. Yeah, you're still here.
Okay.
So you're saying
Okay.
Jada
All
Smith?
right. So, the same Rochester. Say that again.
You were saying Jada Smith?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm
No,
here
no,
with
no.
you.
It wasn't Jada Smith, but I'm just,
Oh,
you,
as a body
yeah, I'm
frame.
using her,
As a body frame.
her, yeah, her body frame as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So somebody that has like that type of physique, right?
Right.
The same two Rochester, New York police officers that was just, what I'm saying, several weeks ago filmed pepper spraying a 9-year-old little black girl, what I'm saying, and then telling her, oh, you need to cut it out. You're acting like a little child, after they spray painted her. And the child, had to remind her that, yes, I am a child. I'm only 9 years old. These same two police officers still on the force now, just several days ago, get recorded, taking a woman and slamming her, you know what I'm saying, to the ground, snatching her baby out of her arms, slamming her to the ground, and trying to and arrest her, because they thought that she may have stole something out of the store, which she did not. But they don't see us
Wow.
as what was it, the Dred Scott case, I forget the exact year again, but Supreme Court in the Dred Scott case, what did he say? He said, look, the black man has no rights in which the white man is bound to respect. And so they still adhere to that, even today, even while, they just paid $27 million out, to the Floyd family. For them, that's like, oh, okay, well, we give you a couple of dollars and we're going to keep on doing, because again, America's rich, right? And then wait, hold on. Who's actually really paying that money? Taxpayers,
Right.
So those same, people that was in the street marching and screaming and protesting and saying what you did to George was wrong, they had to foot the bill for what, that officer did. Think about that.
Yeah.
And then, so when we get on to, homelessness, it's like, this is just like another, piece of the puzzle. It's just like one more, kernel of rice in the pot. You know what I'm saying? Like this is really no different, So it's all, to me, bro. I'm gonna tell you, it's infuriating. But like when you really get to like looking down deep into this stuff, like it's like, come on, the cop that killed Tamir Rice, he had just previously, like a couple of months before he killed Tamir Rice, he had got fired, from another police agency that said that, hey, you should not be a police officer. But then, he rolls up on this little kid that he doesn't see as a kid. You see what I'm saying? He don't see this person as a child. They didn't see the little girl in Rochester as a child when they pepper sprayed her because she's throwing a tantrum. They didn't see the 16-year-old, young man as a child, in Chicago, Laquan McDaniels, when they rolled up and in less than 1 second jumps out of his car and shoots the brother down, and then lies and says, oh, he was rushing them.
Right.
For some reason, this country seems to think that a certain occupation, I wrote this down. Oh, man, I wrote it down. I gotta find it. I'm gonna text it to you when I find it.
All right.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, occupation does not, and I'm misquoting myself, but I pretty much said, look, occupation doesn't make a person, truthful or not. We can't look at a person in the lens of a certain occupation and say, oh, okay, well, they're always honest. No, they're a person. Like I said, King David, stole a man's wife, got her pregnant, and then murdered the husband. Come on now. Noah was a drunk. He was a drunk. Come on, he was in his tent getting sipsy off some grape wine, and yeah, his son shouldn't have did what he did, but Pops was a drunk. Come on, people are people. They lie. So why is it because, you sit on the witness stand against me and you got a badge on that, these people that don't look nothing like me, don't live nowhere near me, get to decide, what my fate is because you sitting here lying. I've had it happen to me. So, I've had police try and plant something on me. Like, are you serious? That's a whole nother story. I ain't gonna get into that one, but it happened. Thank God, it didn't play out how they thought it was.
Right.
God is good.
So tell me this, Reverend Ellington. To me, it seems like there's a couple things that they could do to fix that situation. And one would be is an officer, when you're taking an oath. So it should be like a license, right? So if a doctor or a nurse has a medical malpractice, you lose your license and that's it. You can no longer be an officer of the law, right? I think that's the first thing. The second thing, and then that person that got fired and then ends up in another department in another county or in another state, then just continues to abuse, right? The other
Yeah.
thing is they got to get rid of qualified immunity. So,
Yeah.
we've seen enough examples in this country where, I'm afraid for my life only seems to be against selective folks, and it tends to be us. But when it
Yeah.
comes to every other race of folks, predominantly, then all of a sudden they can exercise all kinds of restraint and calm. And I mean, cops have been spit on and struck. And
Yeah.
I've seen videos where cops are literally getting beat down and they still don't take out their gun and shoot
Yeah.
the person. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so, you can't blame it on your training, right? Because it only
Mm-hmm.
seems to kick in when it's us,
Mm-hmm.
where it is
Mm-hmm.
shoot first and empty your clip and everything else. And I don't know what training would have you, take your hands and put them in your pocket and knee on someone's neck for, 9 minutes. But,
Yeah.
it's things like
Yeah.
that. So if you got rid of those two things, then I think it would actually resolve quite a bit of it, right? And then if you turn off that video camera, you're done. That's it. There's no malfunction. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. 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 I agree. The problem with the qualified immunity, and I understand, the argument, and I do agree that it does need to go by the wayside. Nevertheless, we still have to deal with the George Zimmerman effect, where, Trump, like, what did I keep calling them? Those Trump supporters, they're going to come and they're, because all qualified immunity does is if you get rid of it, it's like, okay, now I can, sue the cop personally. You know what I'm saying? I can hold him, financially responsible for his actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, I can hold him financially responsible. But then when you got all of your, Trump, fans come out and they do a crowd fund, for him and pay whatever it is. He still has no personal effect. My thing is, one, words matter. Words have always mattered. This country is what they call it, a country of laws. They are very intentional on the words that they use, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we first start taking a look at, words, and we say that, all right, this is not an officer that, killed George Floyd. This is, Mr. Chauvin, who's employed as an officer who killed George Floyd. You see what I'm saying? See, because we want to just blanket it and say, oh, a cop did this, a cop. No, this is a person. He's still a citizen of the United States. So why is why does this person receive special treatment, beyond any other citizen? Just because of, an average job that any able-bodied person in the country can get, right? So no, it's not a cop. It's not an officer. This is a citizen. This is a person that's employed as a police officer. They didn't go to school for, 12 years to receive, the title of doctor to say, okay, I'll address this person as doctor. Mm-hmm. No, you went to the academy for maybe about 3 to 6 months, and they gave you a badge and a gun and said, hey, go out there and protect the country. And I'm doing air quotes if you could only see it. But they're just another citizen that's employed as whatever they're doing. Because if the guy, extreme example, right? If the guy from T-Mobile comes up out even in the store, the guy from T-Mobile pins, a would-be, snatch and grab thief down and put his knee on his neck and, choke him out for, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, guess what? And we're going to call him Tom Smith. Tom Smith is going to get charged immediately with a crime, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to say, oh, the T-Mobile guy, No, they're going to say Tom Smith, who works for T-Mobile, da-da-da-da. But why is it, when it comes to, other citizens that's employed as police officers, we want to, qualify their job as, the root of what's done it. You follow me?
I do. I do.
Yeah. So we have to first address the terminology, what I'm saying, of what we're saying as far as, who's responsible, hold people responsible. If you come, what I'm saying, if you do some basic vetting, what I'm saying, and you say, okay, I'm gonna, send you for a psyche valve, before I give you a gun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see what your mental is really like before I give you a gun and put you on the street where children, walk up and down every day. One year I was on Ben Crump. He just tweet Instagram. I think it was today or yesterday or something like that. 1-year-old baby with a bullet in their head because cops shooting into a car indiscriminately.
Yeah, I saw that.
Now,
The woman's car was getting carjacked, and they were shooting at the guy who was stealing the car, or I don't know if it was a male or a female, and the baby was in the car.
Bruh, that is heart wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
That is heart wrenching. So we need to, not only address like, okay, well, you get fired for, this, and we need to address like, putting guns into, everybody's hand that comes through the academy. If you want to, rebuild relations, what I'm saying, between, what I'm saying, people that are employed as, police officers and the people that live in the community, then how about, what I'm saying, you say, okay, guess what? We're gonna, take, let's just say 1/3 for right now. We're gonna take 1/3 of our officers and we're gonna disarm them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna, put them on beats and say, hey, you walk through the community, you got a radio. If it's that bad, call it in. You know what I'm saying? But let's get back to real, what I'm saying, and we don't need to be policed. I don't need to be policed. There's a negative connotation with that. I don't need you to police my actions. I'm a free citizen. If you want to interact with the community, that's one thing, but I don't need you to police me. I can do what I want to. Now if I choose to break a law, then all right, you deal with me in policing that, but I don't need to be policed by anybody. So we have to address, what I'm saying, terminology. We have to address, what I'm saying, how it is we approach, protecting the community, because a glass window is not, what I'm saying, worth the life of anybody. A vehicle is not worth the life of anybody. There is no, material thing on this earth that holds the value of life. No. So, and more times than not, we find that, what I'm saying, people are getting, killed, over material things. You look at the guy down in Atlanta that, he was sleeping in his car, right?
Mm-hmm.
I forget his name, but they end up killing him. And
at the fast food restaurant, he had fallen asleep, and they scared him when he knocked on the door, when they knocked on the window. Yeah.
Now this overweight man, he calls himself trying to run away. Guess what? You got the license plates. You got his name, you got his license, because he stood there and talked with y'all for forever. And then when you decide, okay, I'm going to arrest you, he starts to run away. Well, how about you actually do your job? Let him run away. Either you run and go catch him, or you come pick him up the next morning when he done sobered up and wake up and like, hey, knock, knock. Hey, mister, yeah, come on. We got some charges for you. There's no reason he should be dead.
So, Rev, I wonder if we could do this. You got qualified immunity, right? You have, if you get rid of that, if you have it set up where an officer's record is public, so it's not hidden, right? So when we find out about these officers, the bad apples, we see that they have a history of it, a documented history, which something could have been done, long before if the public knew of what was happening. And even with the qualified immunity going away, if it's a thing where people can sue the officer individually, I think that is one of the fastest ways to dismantle racism and white supremacy, right? And what I mean by that is this. Well, so hear me out. So
Go ahead. I'm listening.
so here's my thought on it, right? So yeah, people might crowdfund and come up with $500,000 or $2 million, but that's going to get old quick because there's so many instances of it, and we know that it's not even being
Yep.
reported or acknowledged, right? So that might be all well and good for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but all they're going to do is break themselves, and they're going to get to the point where it's like, you know what, we're on your side, but we can't give you any more dollars. And at the same time, right, that officer has now lost their job, so that they can't make a living being an officer anymore. So now they need to do something else, and you still get to sue them. So that money, that well is going to run dry. They're no longer on the street as an officer. If they're getting crowdfunding help, that's going to be exhausted because this is a national epidemic, right? That's happening in almost every station in the county. And then the bad apples go away. The good officers that are there that are actually doing good police work can police, right? And if it comes to a situation where there's deadly force, the whole thing is when you're in a court of law and you're being judged, it's what people would find reasonable, like a reasonable person would find believable, right? I think reasonably, we have the power of discernment, and black people are the most forgiving people on the planet, but we have the power of discernment to discern whether or not excessive force was necessary, right? I don't see that it would be something that would be abused. Like, whoa, you did that and you didn't have to. And it's like, no, this is a dangerous situation, and it was justified. I think most people know when it's reasonable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, it would resolve itself outside of a year.
Well, and I hear your argument on that, and I see your premise, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing, right? and you'll hear people say this, right? That one of the best things about Trump being president was what?
That it really took the veil off, and it let folks be who they were, and not have it be hidden.
There you go. All the racists came out of the closet. It's like, oh, I'm free to be racist. Yeah, right. The thing is, once you once you end qualified immunity, which is gonna happen, the George Floyd bill, I think it already passed the House. It's gonna pass the Senate, slim margins, but that's gonna be passed. So, we're gonna have a national registry, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, all this is gonna do is send the racists back into the closet. It's not gonna get rid of them. Because racism is something that's taught at home, and it's something that's instilled in a person over years and years. It's like this brainwashing mentality, right? And it's instilled in them. So,
well, you know what? That's what I wanted to ask you too. Is you because you brought it up before. You talked about slavery, and the mindset of folks back then. And then, of course, we had Jim Crow and redlining and all the other things that we've had up until today, right? The prison industrial complex, the war on drugs, all the different things. Why does it still persist, and how does it end? How do we start to get rid of this altogether?
I was just going to answer that question before you asked.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so. One of the problems, that we face here in America is, that we're not honest about racism. We don't discuss racism, honestly. Okay. So after World War II, right? Mm-hmm. You got all these Nazis over in Germany, right? Why is that not, a problem right now? Germany ain't, racist like, Hitler back in the 40s, right? Mm-hmm. Because they address the issue. They teach their children, the truth about what happened. They address it. Okay, so UPS, right, almost got ran up out of Germany. You want to know why?
Why?
Because of the uniforms, them brown uniforms.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It brought back, thoughts of, these Nazis.
Gotcha.
That's not going to work over here. Mm-hmm. So when you go over to Europe, brown, UPS, that's not what you're gonna see. I forgot what color they changed it to, but it didn't
They're
work
not
over there.
brown, huh?
Yeah,
Brown
not
doesn't
brown.
get it done
We ain't
over
doing
there.
that. Nah, you keep that package. We don't want that one. But they address the issue and they address it honestly. They teach about it honestly. We get 28 days in a year to talk about, blackness in America. And they want to say, oh, black history, and everybody want to bring up Dr. King, great man, don't get me wrong. They want to bring up Dr. King and, this and that. They want to make it seem like our history started here. And it started at here with us at the bottom, so the conversation has never, been an honest conversation. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Another thing, right? You remember that movie Hotel Rwanda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was a true story, right? But what brought healing between the Houthi and the Tutsi? I forgot the other one. I think it was Hutsi and Tutsi or whatever, right? Blacks against black. It was horrible. Anyway, what happened was they had a truth and reconciliation court where the people that perpetrated, the crime admitted to the fact that they did what happened. They admitted to the genocide that they perpetrated against the Hutsi. They said, hey, you know what? We did this. They apologized, and so even right now today, okay, yeah, George Jefferson, he did. Jefferson, he did. George Washington, he did. But guess what? You know what? It's still, people that are racist right now today that owe some folks some apologies. And this little known fact about me, on my mom's side, we literally trace our ancestry back to George Washington.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Runaway slave named Venus. You know what I'm saying? We trace our ancestry right back to George Washington. But so there's some apologies that need to be made. There's some recognition that needs to be given. Okay, so it's a real good book if you ever get a chance to grab it. It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, PTSD.
Okay.
Post-traumatic slave disorder. You know what I'm saying? I forget the author's name right now. I told you I'm real bad with names. I want to say Andrea or something like that. But you could Google it, you'll find it, right? But she argues that, we have never healed, from the trauma of slavery, and that we are continuing to deal with trauma from the hands of our oppressors, vis-a-vis what we see happening with George Floyd. You know how many people, man, just couldn't even stomach to watch that. I'm getting so fed up, and not to the point where it's like, I'm tired of this, but I am so fed up with the videos. But the thing is, the videos is just, a new technology for us to, validate what we've been saying for years when we didn't have these cameras at our hands, at our fingertips. This ain't something that just started happening, where now you got all this so-called, sympathy for, our plight. This has been happening to us for a long time. Only difference is now we're able to, record it on the notice, and it's now it's in their face, and on some level, they have to deal with it, but still they can, choose not to watch it and just keep on scrolling. But we're able to document what they're doing to us now more readily. It's not something, so these things have to be addressed in order for, this country to move forward, and once we begin to address those things right there, what these Trump supporters call the original sin of America, whatever, that ain't y'all original sin. But anyway, you know what I'm saying?
So what do you say to those that would say, look, America has apologized, and I didn't own any slaves, so And my family didn't even own any slaves. I could trace my ancestry back, and we weren't slave owners. We were poor and immigrants too. What do you say to that? Because we hear that a lot.
Okay, so again, we have to, you know what I'm saying, have an honest conversation about race. Okay, and so yeah, you know, people want to say that yeah, my people didn't own slaves or whatever. Guess what? Your people profited from slavery, and they continue to profit from slavery. You know, the whole notion of white privilege is still real. You know, it's not just, you know. So let me put it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If my children, right, if they decide to go, you know what I'm saying, down the block and break into the neighbor's house in the middle of the night and, you know what I'm saying, steal they furnace, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they bring it back to the house, plug it up, and, you know, fill it up with the oil or whatever and cut it on. And, you know, we ain't got no heat, so they desperate, right? You know what I'm saying? Or they don't want to start a fire, whatever. Okay, they go steal a furnace. I'm still benefiting from the heat, even though I'm asleep, you know what I'm saying, and I don't know what they done did.
Mm.
Now, you know what I'm saying, I'm tossing covers off and oh yeah, ooh, it's nice. You know, I'm sleeping good now, right? I'm benefiting from what happened, you know, and so people still benefit from what happened. Even though it was so long ago and oh, we gotta let it go. You know what? No, because you know what I'm saying, the string, you know, the attachment of what happened hundreds of years ago still propagates through to today. Like you just listed a bunch of them off, you know, the redlining, the Jim Crow, you know what I'm saying, the slavery, you know what I'm saying, the mass incarceration. All of these are leftovers from, you know, I ain't gonna say leftovers, but these are all blocks in, you know what I'm saying, what has been going on.
Right.
You know, you look at the Nixon tapes, right? You know what I'm saying? I forget the boy name. Goldwater, I think it was. You know, he coined the term dog whistle, right?
Mm-hmm.
We ain't gonna outright say, you know, the N word, but you know, we're gonna, you know, use code words. It ain't went away. They still using the code words. We know what they is, but just because, you know what I'm saying, you have plausible deniability, so to speak, you know, that don't mean that it racism is gone. That doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, you know, my kid still in that furnace doesn't benefit. I'm not benefiting from that at the moment. You
So
know, and so until it's dealt with, you know, on a truthful level, you know, we're gonna continue to, you know, deal with certain issues.
so what
You
would
know,
you
and
say to
that's
those that would push back and say, okay, well, all right, maybe I did benefit from slavery and maybe I did benefit from redlining and Jim Crow, but currently Black America is benefiting from those same things too. So why should you? I mean, like, what more can be done? We can talk about it and acknowledge it and say what was done is bad, but we're all benefiting, and don't we have to move on from some point?
yeah, once we deal with it, you know, of course, you know, again, I love words. You know, it's not I did, it's I do.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? No, it's not, oh, I did benefit. No, you still do. You know, it's not a past tense thing. You still benefiting, you know, and tell me how I'm benefiting from it. I'm not benefiting from it. You know, I'm not benefiting. You go look at you go look at the prisons, and I'm not benefiting from it. You look at what's transpiring right now, and it's happening right in front of our face. Hilarious! It's happening right in front of our face, and is about to be just another chapter in the long book that America been playing. But you know what I'm saying? This okay, so 2 years ago, Canada, they legalized marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you got Mexico They lower house just approve, just pass the bill to legalize it down there. It's gonna pass, their Senate, and their president's gonna sign it. So 6 months, year tops. Mexico's gonna be legalized marijuana, right?
Right.
People, that has historically got locked up for marijuana. Marijuana wasn't like even a big issue, right? Until the 50s when they came out with that Reefer Madness movie. You know what I'm saying? And scared everybody. Oh, you
That was definitely before my time.
like, oh, okay, well, this is a way that we can, um, you know, kind of curve that, and at the same time, um, this is the foundation of what we see as far as mass incarceration go, is this war on drugs, criminalizing marijuana, and all these low level offenses and stuff, and there's so many examples of that or whatever. So where do I benefit at it? You guys are finna, you guys already have built the wealth in this country, and that's well established. Every for every $10 that the average white family saying makes, the average black family is making 88 cents.
Wow.
Something's wrong. you know, where you got $10 worth of wealth to my 88 cents, but I'm the one, that physically, built the country and still continues to build the country, and that's a whole nother topic about, minimum wage and all that stuff too, right? But, it's suspicious that they don't teach finances.
Still there, Reverend? All right. You are watching The Conduit with Marwan Cameron. Our guest tonight is Reverend Michael Ellington. I think he is, sounds like he's mobile. So,
Yeah,
kind of in and out. Okay. All right. You're back now. We lost you there for a second.
oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no
Okay,
worries.
so I was saying it's kind of suspicious that, they don't teach finances in, school, but and then you look at who benefits the most from the stock market, because they teach their children, about finances, about the stock market, about wealth. They pass it down, and so forth, right? So when America is forced to legalize marijuana because you're sandwiched in between two countries that has done it, and you have 16 states that has already legalized it, you're kind of forced into the market, right?
Right.
You can't just like, be an island to yourself when you're on a continent, and you're surrounded by two other countries that say, hey, we are legalizing it. Especially two friendly countries that you do business with. So America, before the Biden, these next 4 years, before the Biden Harris thing is up, America will have legalized marijuana. Not decriminalized it, but legalized it across the board. And all it is a tax stamp, and that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, they're going to legalize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's in a position to capitalize from that already? It's, the tobacco companies, which of course we've already seen this big push, the last 15 years, about stop smoking. They had to do the whole campaign. Every now and then you still see some of the commercials here and there, whatever. Tobacco companies got hit hard. A lot of people stopped smoking. I didn't stop smoking, thank God. And so where's the next market coming from? It's going to come from tobacco. They already have, the infrastructure to, produce on a mass level and provide.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the same thing that happened during the the prohibition era. What I'm saying? Even though, you know, we know now in history, prohibition never really happened. It was, same thing, black market, what I'm saying? But, what I'm saying, there were certain families, certain people that were in position to capitalize on, what I'm saying, them reversing that whole prohibition era thing and re-legalizing liquor, which is far more harmful than marijuana, but they re-legalize it, and you have certain people that are already in position to capitalize from it. It's not, what I'm saying, the black community who has been harmed the most by by making marijuana illegal, that's going to capitalize from it. So where have I profited from, redlining? Where have I profited from Jim Crow? Where have I profited from, mass incarceration, slavery, and everybody want to talk about Tulsa and Rosewood, and yes, they do need to be mentioned, but it was happening all over the country.
Right.
Where they was going in and tearing down, what we was building, because they did not want to see us successful on any level.
So, what
You
would you
know,
say, Reverend, to poor whites and poor people of color that say, "Hey, well, I didn't benefit from redlining. I didn't benefit from Jim Crow. I'm poor. I'm on food stamps. I'm on TANF. I'm struggling. I can't get any help. So, I'm in the same boat. So why should I have to pay
pay what?
any kind of reparation or be accountable for something that I didn't have anything to do with?"
Okay, so you know, there's no person, and I guess I should clarify that there's no people that are to be held accountable. I
Mm.
do believe, all the, people that physically held our ancestors in slavery are deceased.
Mm-hmm.
The country, is who needs to pay. Now, as far as, poor, whites,
Hold on, Reverend.
okay.
I got to just give you a little bit of applause there. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I love that answer because what derails this conversation is really smart people being intellectually dishonest, right? And like you
Yeah.
said, words are important, but people have to use the words that they have. They may not come out right. They may not be said or enunciated or pronounced correctly, but the message of the intent is clear. And what happens is these messages get derailed by people that are intellectually dishonest. And I think you really hit on the answer there. That's why I wanted to stop you, because I wanted to focus in on that and just point it out. Right? It doesn't matter whether you're a black American in this country, whether you're a white American, whether you're BIPOC, whatever the case may be, indigenous. Everybody, this nation is responsible for the true horrific crime of this country, and it's not one person has to pay, but the country has to make it right as a whole. I love the fact that you said that, because it really puts it dispels everything else. And that's why I've been asking you the questions that I've been asking, is because that's been the argument from the right and even from the left that are against reparations or against making things right, and say, hey, well, we've apologized and we just need to move past it. And that was a long time ago. I didn't have slaves, right? All the talking points, is about 25 to 30 of them that they will just kind of say, right? And then it gets derailed. We get hung up on that point because that's a strategy, right? You're over here. Hey, don't look over here. Look over here. And then you look up, and then now it's a new government, or you don't have the majority in government. So then those things are done, or you have a committee to decide whether or not you should look at reparations. And how could you ever decide how to do that, right? But with other things, all of a sudden we can just do these things, right? This is commission, this is giving money, this is done, right? And would you say, from a spiritual standpoint, that the country won't truly ascend to what it could be if they don't do right by Black Americans.
No, they can't. They cannot. They cannot. And again, that's what brings me back to the whole thing that we have to have honest conversations and be truthful about, things, because okay, yes, blacks, were put in, Africans were put into, chains, sold into slavery, and horrific things were done against us, right? But the truth is, um, there were, whites that were discriminated against, at a certain time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know this, the Polish came over here, they got discriminated against, right? Until the next immigrant came over and they got discriminated against, and so forth, right? So America has this habit of picking on, what I'm saying, the little guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, we've always been at the bottom of the bucket. Even when they picking on the next little guy, we were still fair game, right?
Mm-hmm.
In between, you know. And one of the things, and part of the honest conversation that needs to be had is, it's never been about race. Now, this is what America, and this is why I say we have to have a honest conversation.
Interesting. Continue.
It's never been about race. One, we know that race is a construct. It's nothing that's actually real. Okay, race is not a real thing. All right, but okay, so this is what America has always done, and this is why I say it's not about race. They have pitted, and you were just hitting on it. They have pitted the two low guys, the small people against each other to keep, our focus off of the real, enemy, at the gates.
Mm-hmm.
So you got, and here's, the beauty of it, and it's still happening, and that's what I was saying. The devil ain't got to change his tricks if it keep working, and it's still working right now today. You know what I'm saying? We sitting here, you look at what happened at the Capitol, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason at all for that to be happening. We're fighting against the wrong people. We're fighting against the wrong people. So in slavery times, right, what happened was they say, okay, we're going to put the black man in chains. He don't look nothing like us at all. All right. Now, these poor white folk, we got to, keep them distracted. Guess what? We're going to make y'all, what did they call them?
Were they indentured servants?
They did the indentured servitude for a while, but that's only for a limited time until you work yourself out of debt. No, slave patrols. All right. And we're going to make you slave patrols, and we're going to make you the, overseer on the ranch. And, you a little bit better than them. You get to beat them and whip them and everything else, and they ain't no good, and they lies and thieves, and you much better than them. But all along, you still living in a shack. Your shack may be got 2 or 3 less cracks in it than, the slave shack, but you still living in a shack.
You know what's so sad about that, Reverend? Is this was just last year. I was told from someone who was poor and white, I would rather be poor and white than be an N-word. that was said to my face.
They are. We're all the N words. Okay, so, and I'm going to bring it back to today, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what they did to us back then, right? And that has that was good enough. It rolled. It has rolled the rail like a hobo all the way to 2021. It's still happening right now today, where, like you just said, somebody will say something like that. But you don't understand that when you go to the poll, you're voting against your own interests. So you have more white Americans on welfare than you have black Americans.
Right.
And it's just true. These are numbers. We can go, to the web sites and pull it up. Okay. So when they go to the poll and they voting for a Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, a Donald Trump, a Tim Scott. They voting against their own interests because they're trying to kill off anything that's going to help a poor person come up out of, poverty. Okay, who's fighting, this 15, and I told you I was going to bring it back to the 15.
Mm-hmm.
Who's fighting these $15 an hour, right?
Right.
It's not just Republicans, because you had 8 Democrats that, went and voted against it. Manchin, oh my goodness, he ain't nothing but a Republican wrapped in a blue rag, but that's another conversation, right? Okay, so people will vote against their own interests in order to preserve the idea of them, being a little bit more superior than the next person that's sitting right next to you in the same boat, in the same bucket. And we constantly vote against our own interests, where we're willing to send a Donald Trump, to, sit in the Oval Office simply because he's mastered the dog whistle on some level, and he's a great charlatan. Like you said, look at this hand, don't look at that hand. We sitting here in a pandemic, right? Almost every other major country in the world, is giving their people UBI right now to help them. We're the only country that's still stuck on check number 3 and arguing about that. There are people that are literally, millions of people that are finna face eviction once they finally open all the way back up. And that's another reason why I don't really want them opening up, because you got millions of people that's finna face eviction. They argued about the first stimulus check, about how much it's going to be, this and that and everything else, all while people were starving and were desperate for any type of help. And then when they do release it, it's like, oh, hey, here you go. Look what we got done. And yeah, they didn't want, and they charlatan stuff, got us focusing on the wrong thing. Oh, this person don't want it to happen and we want to get it. Look, y'all both, sitting off camera, behind closed doors, swindling and talking. You got a bunch of millionaires sitting in Congress. And I was trying to explain this to somebody else. Congress ain't just, the House. When you say Congress, you're talking about, the House and the Senate.
Right.
So Congress ain't nothing but a bunch of millionaires. So you really think they're going to vote against their own interests? Because they're not willing to sacrifice their comfort. They're not willing to pay a little bit more in taxes, for the help the common man. You look at it started, it started way before, but Bush, when he came with that trickle down economic stuff, I'm like, whatever, ain't nothing never finna trickle down. I ain't that stupid. I was born at night, but not last night. We knew what nothing finna trickle down, but they rolled that pony and they argue back and forth, and everybody caught up in it, and they want this and oh, this side want that. Look, they all politicians, and they all finna do what's in their best interest. While they sitting here arguing, against Bernie Sanders about, universal health care, right? Guess what? They got universal health care. They not paying for health care. Right. While they sitting here arguing about giving, poor families, $15 an hour. Guess what? Y'all done raised, y'all paid, constantly over and over.
Voted to give themselves a raise. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you,
people that actually need the money?
Reverend, what do you say to those? Because you talk about Trump and a lot of the Republicans. What I love about your congruency is you said, at the beginning of this conversation is we gotta, hold people accountable. And so you calling out names, it's like Mitch McConnell and Tom Cotton, and it's on. It's great. I love it. But many in the black community would say, hey, the Democratic Party wasn't any better, and in a lot of ways they were a lot worse. And a lot of the social programs really did us more harm than good, separating the black man out of the home of the black woman, in order to get benefits. Right, the prison industrial complex that was under Biden, right? And so what do you say to that? Because I want to make sure that we're on balance, because I know that is the thought process of a lot of Black Americans.
Oh, bro, trust me, I'm right there. You didn't hear me. That's what I said. It ain't about Democrat and Republican, because they all politicians. They off camera behind closed doors. Trust me, they talking. When they did round two of the stimulus check, it was a little bit more publicized than the first round or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe I was just paying a little bit more attention. Who knows? But they kept on having these, meetings, right? But these weren't, recorded or televised or anything else. You got Pelosi and Schumer meeting with, Lindsey, I just said his name, Lindsey Graham, and the other one, McConnell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got, the majority leaders and the minority leaders. They're meeting behind closed doors, willing and dealing. But again, they are all benefiting. They're all millionaires. You got Nancy Pelosi sitting on TV eating some $2,500 ice cream. No, the refrigerator was $2,500. The ice cream, was a couple of $100. But anyway, talking about she understand the plight of, average Americans. Ain't none of them understand, they don't know what a gallon of milk costs. They don't care what a gallon of gas costs. Why they sitting here making laws? It don't matter if they Republican or Democrat. Don't get me wrong. I don't fly that way. Oh, just because you're Democrat. Okay, so guess what? The Democrats started out as the racist party. So, what happened was, Dixiecrats. You ever heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
I know you did.
Oh, yeah.
You a man on top of things. But you know about the Dixiecrats and all of them, whatever. So what they do is, it's a split in the party, and they all go running over to the Republicans. But, just because they split on one issue does not, mean that just flushed out all the racists and, everybody, okay, this side and that side. Don't be fooled. That's what I said. You can't vote against your own interests. Unfortunately, and again, suspiciously so, they don't teach true, politics in America. But yet you expect that as soon as my child graduates, high school, that they need to be able to go and, cast the vote. But they don't really know nothing about how our political system really works. Unfortunately, most depending on where you go, and I hate the terminology, but I say city kids. I ain't gonna say inner city. I'm gonna say city kids. Most city kids, don't even know the three branches of government, let alone, how a bill gets paid. Remember growing up and us watching the little, bill going up the Capitol steps. We was, at least they was teaching us about that. Then you look at what they doing down in Georgia right now, with the voter laws. We finna need a whole new Martin Luther King, to go and fight, because they dismantling step by step, they dismantling, the Voters' Rights Act. Then you got, a 6-3 Supreme Court. Don't nobody pay attention to judges, but oh my goodness, they the silent killers. Y'all better watch out. They the silent killers. Again, remember, Dred Scott. They the ones that said, the white man the black man has no rights that the white man is bound to respect. So you got, and I guarantee you, right now, most people don't even know who sit on the Washington State, Supreme Court, let alone, the American Supreme Court.
Those are facts for sure.
Yeah, these are important, electoral positions, that need to be paid attention to, because when the government refuses to act, and we just seen a 4-year do nothing, Congress, guess who, decides what's going to happen? it's your judges.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened these last 4 years that Trump was in? McConnell spent wouldn't address not a single bill. They just stacking up on his desk. He wouldn't bring nothing to the floor. But what he was constantly doing was pushing through federal positions.
Mm.
He pushed through a 30, I think she was 32 or 34-year-old woman, that has no right getting a federal position because that's a lifetime position. Put her on a federal bench because she holds to the policies that, he adheres to. So we have to educate, our society, and it all, and that's why I say it's never been about racism. It's always been about money and power. When we're going through a pandemic and Jeff Bezos can make $400 billion in a month,
Wow.
there's a problem.
Wow.
He made enough money to pay every single employee over $150,000 each, and still would have had, wouldn't have touched half of it, would have had a lot of change left over.
So, Rev, let me ask you this. How do we fix it? Because I think one of the things that Congress, I don't think the Supreme Court, I don't believe in lifetime appointments. I think that's dangerous. I think as the country grows and changes and matures and their viewpoints change on things, all it does is it stagnates the growth, right? So, they're 40 and 50 years behind, and they're keeping us from growing forward. So I think that's something that needs to be done away with, pretty much immediately. And you should only be able to serve, maybe 4 years, enough time so that you can implement some things, but not so much time that, new ideas can't come in and things be worked on or modified. I also don't like the idea of just wholesaling, dismantling things, right? But then that would require people to, really go forward and try to do what they feel or what is best by their constituents, right? And I wonder, this is a question to you, a second one, is I believe a lot of people run for office with the intent on doing good, but when they get sucked into that disease system, they just become part of the problem and not the solution. Like they can't fight against it. It's too big. Wait, thoughts?
Yeah. So I agree with you. So,
all right, we might have lost Reverend Ellington. Might be moving around a little bit. This is Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit.
I'm here.
All right.
Sorry.
Our guest Reverend Michael Ellington. Every time, what happens?
No, go ahead. I was just saying, every time my screen cuts off, it.
When it goes to sleep. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I got to keep moving it. I was getting into the conversation. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But okay, so this is our so-called democracy, and I'm really doing some serious air quotes on this democracy thing because this is not democracy, and that word there. Ooh, okay, anyway, so all right, solutions. The solutions, are easier said than done. Unfortunately, in many things because things have become so ingrained. We first have to get a significant portion of the populace, properly educated as far as, our political system goes, the ins and outs, where you're just talking about lifetime appointments. I totally agree with you, right? And I'm going to touch on that in a minute, right? I totally agree with you on that. Shouldn't be no lifetime appointments, but also, how about some term limits on Congress?
Right.
You got Pelosi, and McConnell and Schumer and, all of these guys, look, been in there decades, okay. So they caked in, right? And then what they do to the freshmen, is ridiculous. I was watching a documentary where, they was saying, like, when you're a freshman in Congress, you spend a lot of your time on the phone calling donors.
Mm.
Okay. You're not doing like what you were sent there to do. You're being told what you're gonna do. Okay. Second thing we need to do after we get done with term, when we start putting some term limits on, Congress, just like we got on our president, we need to dismantle completely the party system,
Mm.
because the party system is the same trick that I was telling you what they did, pitting the poor white man against the black man,
Gotcha.
while the people in power continue to amass wealth and power. So with this political system, and that's why I say they all off camera behind doors, buddy, chatting it up and willing and dealing. Oh, I'll play the bad guy this time because y'all got the press. Okay, I'm gonna play bad guy this time. You see what I'm saying? So we got to get rid of the political parties and say, hey, when you run for office, you run simply on, your ideals. So people stop voting Republican and Democrat, because you got a lot of people that's going to rush to the ballot and simply vote just down party lines.
Mm.
Because, hey, they say they're a Democrat. I'm a Democrat and I'm voting Democrat. We got to get rid of party systems. So you force people to really start listening and looking at what these politicians are saying and what they're doing. So if you do get voted in, now when you come back up for election, your opponent is able to hold you accountable for what you did versus what you said. Because even though, we see, new politicians try and do that, like, okay, I'm new to the game. Well, they said they was going to do this and do that, and they didn't do it, but you send me, I'll do it. Right. And like you say, they go with all good intentions. Send Mr. Johnson to Washington. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, the system's rigged when they get there. So now we can truly hold you responsible for what you said you was going to do.
Mm.
You said, okay, the lady, I think it's not Swalwell. I forgot her name. The one, out of Arizona, right? Rookie, Congresswoman, she the one that go running up to the, thing and do the thumbs down on the $15 an hour.
Gotcha. Okay. I can't
Okay.
call her name,
So,
but
yeah, I can't either. I'm bad with names. But anyway, she had been, campaigning and talking about, yeah, she all for the $15 an hour.
mm-hmm.
You've been, running on this and, rah and out there with the people on it, right? But when you get there, you run up there and, you all happy. Yeah, thumbs down, for real. So now, when it's time for her to, be reelected, what's going to happen is, the Democratic Party, they gonna back her because she did what they wanted her to do. Like, okay, most of us is gonna vote for it so we can look like we're for it, but we got enough of them that we're gonna send to vote against it so it doesn't pass. And by you voting against it, we're gonna, and make sure you get reelected. We're gonna pump millions into your campaign. They'll barely hear about the other guy, and anything they hear about him going to be nothing but bad news and, negative campaigns. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
we got to get rid of this party system. We got to get a educated populace, an educated voting populace, and then we got to start looking, objectively at what's really happening in our country. We're I did this sermon one time called Bread and Circuses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in Rome, this is back in when they had like the Colosseum and stuff like that, right?
Right.
What the emperors did was they would make sure that there was plenty, and that's what they called the gladiator fights and all of that stuff they did in the Colosseum. They called it a circus. Okay. So they would, make sure there was plenty of entertainment, so to speak, going on. And then they make sure when people came in for the circus, they give them bread, keep their bellies fed. So they're not thinking about that, Nero is sitting here playing the fiddle while Rome is burning and pointing the finger at the Christians. No, you know, so and that's where we're at right now. We're so blinded by bread and circuses. I swear to you, brother, I did not watch one football game this season. I refuse to. I was like, no, it's too much going on right now, for us to be paying attention to, a sport,
Right.
because this is what the Romans did, and this was their decline. This was part of their decline. This bread and circuses. And that's where America is. You ever seen that movie Idiocracy?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you should watch it.
That's a
I
good
swear, I
one.
think it's coming to life. It's called Idiocracy. But pretty much the premise is everybody in America gets so dumb, just so stupid, because we're you know just so comfy and unfocused that the country just goes down, and to the point where they're like feeding plants energy sports drinks trying to get the plants to grow, because they don't know you're supposed to give it water and sunshine. They just that dumb. Yeah, yeah, if you get a chance, watch it.
All right, I'll
it's
check
it's,
that
it's
out.
hilarious. Yeah, it's hilarious, but it got a message behind it. And the thing is, we're not, teaching our youth the right things. So we're getting a more and more uneducated populace. And it's like, okay, uneducated voting populace where, it's like, okay, mom and dad are Republicans, so I'm going to vote Republican, da 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 da. All I hear them do is talk negative, Look, I was one of the first, look, I am so glad, that we had, Obama got elected, nevertheless, I am not afraid to criticize him, because look, he didn't do anything to really help us. No, he had two opportunities. We sat back on that first term and we like, okay, it's coming. It's coming. All right, well, the first term over with. The second one, he got us because he ain't got to worry about getting reelected and nothing else. He gonna do something for us. Okay, it's coming. It never came. We sat back and waited. We kept our mouths shut and we waited, and we got a black man in office and da 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 da. Okay, no. He played the political game, all the way in and out. And he did not do anything, to further our community. If anything, we find ourselves in a more perilous, position now than we did before he came in. Right. Because it left a lot of, those Trump supporters angry and got them out to, to the polls, to wash clean, this Muslim that was in our White House that don't have a birth certificate and all this and that, so they all riled up and we're going to get our guy in there. He going to wash all this clean. He going to burn the sheets and toss out the mattresses. You see what I'm saying? He ain't do nothing for us, and the situation, ain't no better. Mm-hmm. If anything, and I'm gonna say this, and some people may not agree, but I believe that we need to put laws on the books to make black people, a protected class, because we are constantly at the brunt of it, and like I said, for, in between, they may, America may, switch its focus for a little while, well, we might get a little bit of a reprieve. You remember back after 9/11, everybody looking at the Muslims and, we was making jokes about how we could just go on and shimmy on to the plane and, okay, they done with that. They back on us.
Right.
Right now, unfortunately, they targeting our Asian brothers and sisters, like fools, following behind, their dear leader, But once they get past that, we're gonna be back, in they sights again. And so we need to become a protected class, and that's something that he could have done. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he don't get a pass. I'm not about party lines. Like I said, you need to run on what you believe. And so I don't pay attention to people on they saying, oh, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. I'm listening to both of y'all. Now, unfortunately, 9 out of 10 times, the Democrats talk a little bit more sense, reasonable. But there's some things that Republicans say every now and then that I agree with. But I'm mostly tend to agree more with, I would say this so-called progressive wing, the liberal wing, because you have a conservative wing of the Democrats as well, and a moderate wing, so whatever with all that party stuff, man.
So
But
we are here. This is an awesome conversation. I'm just loving it. You are listening to the Conduit. I'm Marwan Cameron. Our guest tonight is Reverend Michael Ellington. I'm definitely going to trigger you here. I want to talk a little bit about the vaccine and how you feel. So you know that we've got three different different vaccines out here right now. We have several different mutations already. We had the major three that came out of the country, and now we have 7 that are been created from in the country. Right? We have so much COVID fatigue. We want to open back up. We've got spring break. We see that the numbers have spiked up a little bit. But what's your thoughts on the vaccine, and should we stay closed? Should we open? What are your thoughts there?
Okay, so I gave you reasons, at least one reason to stay closed, because they're gonna try and evict a bunch of people once they start opening up all the way. As far as the vaccines go, all right. So I understand, I truly do understand, people's fatigue, with this COVID. I personally think that it's a plague and not a pandemic. All right. That's my personal beliefs. I think this is a plague. And I ain't gonna get off into that too much right now because you asked me another question. What I think about the vaccines. All right. So I know a lot of, art people, are reluctant to want to take it, and they seem to, kind of want to point, their most point their finger at, the Tuskegee experiments, right? What they did to us, with the syphilis and stuff like that, right? Nevertheless, let me give you another book to write down. I hope you're taking notes, bro.
Oh yeah, and typing it in the chat also.
Okay, I hope you. Yeah, okay. So another book to look at, it's called Medical Apartheid. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
I have heard of that one. I haven't read it, but I have heard about it.
Yeah. I haven't. I kind of skimmed through it. That's I gave it as a gift to a medical student a couple of years back, but that's some heavy reading right there. But the pictures alone, is just like wow. And some of the stories and accounts of what's been done to us in this country. All right, I ain't talking about nowhere else. I'm talking about these 4 walls of this great American country, right? Gives me cause for pause, right? And so right now, me and my wife were both high risk. And so yesterday, I see on the news that the governor's, opening up, the vaccine for more people, and by the 31st, pretty much anybody can go get it, starting the 31st of this month, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I've been paying real close attention. Most weeks I catch the little White House briefing with the Fauci and them. I caught the tail end of it today, but I'm gonna go back and watch it. It's just been a crazy week. I was kind of down and out of it yesterday, but they're talking about now it's 3 feet for the kids. So here's my thing with the vaccine. Um, and I understand that everybody has to make their own choice on this, because me and my wife were having this conversation right now where she's wanting to get vaccinated.
Okay.
Like I said, both high risk. And of course, this COVID is scary. This plague is scary. So I can understand people's wanting to go get it. And I told my wife, I said, if I were to get one, I would get the Johnson and Johnson, because it's just one shot and done, done and over with. I ain't got to come back for another one. But I have problems with the way information is being disseminated, and being what information is and isn't being released, and that gives me more cause for pause. And so what I mean by that is, I'm a very critical listener. Fauci, when he first, started talking masks, it was like, oh, don't worry about a mask. Da, 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 da. Okay, y'all didn't know too much about it, right? But then he started talking masks, right? And he says, you don't wear a mask to protect yourself. You wear a mask to protect the other person, right? So in other words, I'm putting a mask on so that what I'm exhaling and breathing out doesn't affect the other person. So what that tells me is, in my brain, that this mask, what it tells me in my brain is, what he's saying is the mask will, have some preventative qualities to prevent the virus from escaping the mask. However, because I don't wear it to protect myself, that means that I can still get infected wearing the mask, which he has physically said, word out of his mouth, is that the virus can penetrate through the mask. So if the virus can penetrate through it, that means it can come out of it. Come on, it's just one, it's just, come on, it's two sides to it. If it can come through, it can go out,
Gotcha.
So I got a problem with that, And so it's like, all right, what do you think? I'm not listening critically? Because I am, if it can go one way, it can come the other. Now, as far as, the rumors, right, that you see about certain things happening to people that take the vaccine, right? Okay, so, totally, outrageous stuff, people then, photoshopped or whatever else, right? Not talking about any of that stuff, right? I'm talking about people actually that then died, right?
Right.
From this. People that then had adverse reactions to these vaccines. Stuff that was like reported on, actual news, like those people up in Alaska. They mentioned, they had adverse reactions. We don't hear nothing else about that. It's like, hey, don't talk about that. And then, that conversation's over with. I'm of the mindset that, nothing is perfect. I don't care what it is. Nothing's perfect. The medicine that my doctor gives me comes with, these sheets of paper that say, hey, this could happen, that could happen, this could happen. I still, say, okay, well, I'm going to take it, right?
Right.
It's a choice I make, right? But I have the information, to make that decision, to say, I'm going to take it. We'll watch commercials, for depression. And they say, hey, this may cause, liver cirrhosis, or, may cause one of your lungs to fall out. You might lose an ear scary if you take this. All these crazy stuff that they list, these commercials about the medicine. But it may help with this one thing. But these are the possible risks. Not really likely, but the possible risks. We've had some reports of this happening. Okay, I can make a decision off of that. But because, the Trump administration and now the Biden administration, they are not addressing the issues of possible side effects from these, vaccines, and they're trying to watch over that and just say, hey, we all need to take the vaccine. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we can start opening up again. That's the problem I have with it, is that you're not giving me all of the information so that I can make a decision and say, okay, I'm willing to risk these certain, things possibly happening. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not like on this, conspiracy theory and, they did this to us and that, because guess what? Be honest with you, if they want to do that, they're going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it ain't nothing about us volunteering to do it, they can make a difference. No way. They can spray some stuff in the air, which they've done before, and infect us however they want to. So that ain't the issue. The issue is you're not giving me all the information, and I'm wondering why you're not giving me all the information, because I want to be able to decide if I'm willing to risk my ear falling off, and I know that's extreme and whatever, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I want all of that information to be able to make that decision for myself, and then possibly I may not want, the Johnson & Johnson. I might say, hey, you know what? These side effects look a little bit more acceptable over here with Pfizer. I think I'd rather, get the 2 shots. Right. So that's my cause for pause. In the beginning, I was like every other black person. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I ain't taking that stuff, this and that and, whatever, but that's all like, how we talk, what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's free talk, it ain't even no vaccine out, right. We gonna josh and talk mess and this and that or whatever, but it's always some hint of truth and comedy, and laughter. So, my hint of truth is, you got to be upfront with me, and tell me, what's really going on, and let me make, my own informed decision, because I'm smart enough to do that, and I'm smart enough to know that, look, no, nothing's 100% and nothing's perfect, and I'm okay with that, because that's the same, risk that we take with any medication that we take. There's a possibility of some adverse effect happening, but we on these other ones, we have that opportunity to, make those decisions.
That's a really rational thought that you're articulating there, right? When you talk about, the vaccine and just kind of feeling like, there's something that I feel like they're not telling us. Do you have any idea what that might be, or is just kind of a sense that you have?
No, it's just that I know that there's side effects. There's side effects with every, medication. Gotcha. We're not all a monolith, and so I'm like real picky with my doctors, right? Mm-hmm. Because, of my particular health issues. So I've had doctors that would try and put me in a textbook and say, okay, well, the textbook says this. I tell them, look, I'm not, when they wrote that textbook, they didn't come ask me nothing about it. All right. So you need to talk with me because, whatever was going on with that guy, something different happening with me. So I'm not going to let you put me in a textbook and just kind of write me off and say, okay, well, textbook says this should be going on. So here we go. And all right, go your way. No. I'm going to advocate for myself, right? And so the same thing with medication. It's not that, I think it's something nefarious or anything like that, Because again, if they want to do something nefarious, they're going to do it, It's just the fact that I don't have all of the information to say that, yeah, I'm going to take it,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go and do it. And then, you know, um, on some level, I feel like, hey, if everybody else take it, why do I need it? I don't have COVID. And if everybody else, I continue to keep my distance and I don't get COVID and, everybody get cured from it.
Yeah, it's
I don't,
eradicated, then I'm good, huh?
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, we don't have to vaccinate any longer for polio because they eradicated it, you know? So they stopped vaccinating because it's not something we have to worry about anymore. Unfortunately, it's starting to make a comeback. There was like a couple of rare cases they
Mm.
found, but they had stopped vaccinating for polio because we had vaccinated enough where it was gone. you know, so yeah,
So
I don't
let
know
me,
if that answered your question.
no, no, that's perfect. That's perfect. Again, we're having a great conversation with Reverend Michael Ellington. I wanted to ask you this question because I think this is important too, and it kind of goes back to our conversation with the church and whatnot. Um, how do you define friendship, and what makes a good friend, and how are you a good friend to friends that you are friends to?
I define friendship as it's an interesting question. I don't know, just people being people. I think there's you know there's somebody for everybody, right? Like, so you, as far as like what a friend is somebody you know that you get and they get. Like, all right, like, all right, I get, and it's on different levels, right? Because when you have a friend, right, it's not always peaches and cream, right? You're gonna encounter your friend on some bad days and some good days, right?
Right.
And a friend is somebody that can navigate all of those situations while being true to who they are and being true to who you are. They're not trying to change you, and you're not trying to change them. It's this level of acceptance, for who each person is, and saying, okay, you know, you goofy, everybody's a little goofy, and you might kind of goofy, right? So you can hang out,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you do, and so but again, it's about that truth aspect of, like, all right, you're true to who you are. You're not trying to put on airs, or you're comfortable taking off your societal mask, right?
Mm.
You're comfortable, what I'm saying, like, taking the mask off, and uh um what was that movie? Yeah, this is movie, Brother, I think it's Brother You. It's called, with Danny Glover and this black guy, and he gets this job at this telemarketing thing, right, where you got to call people and try and sell them stuff or whatever.
Hmm.
And so Danny Glover's the old guy, of course. He's there, and the guy is just like horrible at the job. He can't talk to anybody. So Danny Glover, he tells him the secret. You got to learn to put on your white voice. You know what I'm saying? And like, whenever Danny talks, it's the stereotypical white voice or whatever. It's a little comedy or whatever. It's on like Amazon Prime right now, or Hulu,
Is it
one
an
of those
older
two.
movie?
No, it's a newer movie.
Really? With Danny Glover,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Okay.
It's a real good movie. It's pretty good. And so, he puts on, this persona, to kind of, further his career, you know. And a friend is somebody that, doesn't need to put on a persona. It
Mm.
doesn't need to attempt to be anything other than who they are, you know. And so that's why, I say, like, hey, I'm just me, like, yeah, you're gonna love me or you're gonna hate me, some people like me, some people don't, I don't know, whatever. 8 billion people in the world, I can't please all of them. You know, I doubt I could please some of them. You know, but it's somebody out there for everybody. You know, Bible says something about Proverbs says that a friend, you know, sticks closer than a brother. You
Mm.
know, and I think that, you know, for me, that says that on some level, you know, it's like, you know, family. You know, I have, you know, I see everybody personally as a friend, you know, so long as you don't, you know, do anything, you know, to harm my family,
Mm.
you know, or me, like, all right, I can consider you a friend, right? And I know people have the acquaintance friend, you know, dilemma thing or whatever, but the Bible also says, you know, that we should show ourselves friendly,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, you can't show yourself friendly if you're not a friend, you know. And so I look at everybody as a friend and I give everybody that opportunity to be a friend. You know, how am I a good friend? I don't think I am. You know,
Really?
I think, yeah, I think that, you know, I'm a very private person.
Mm.
You know, like I said, I've been here almost 20, you know, years pretty much. You know, since my oldest son will be 23 in July. We got here when he was 3 months. I left for 4 years to go take care of my mom. And I don't really know a lot of people, you know, because I'm happy, like, just kind of being me. You know what I'm saying? Like being by myself. And you know, I've always been that way. Like I got three older siblings, and never much they, you know, never much cared about like going to hang out with them or what they doing or not. Look, okay, bye, you know, leave me alone, you know. And you know, so I'm the type of person though that, like, I have one friend that I've known since I was 13. We don't talk often. He lives down in California. Tragically, a couple years ago, his son got murdered. That was a horrible time. But we can talk, you know what I'm saying, every 3, 4, 5 years, and it's okay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because he knows like that's who I am. You know, like I'm, you know, even my mom, you know, I have to set reminders in my phone to like call her because I don't like talking on the phone. Yeah, I know, right? But you know, I like being able to see people when you talk. I don't know if you
Oh,
noticed, like my vibe has kind of changed a little bit since we got on the phone.
because you can't see.
But I
Yeah.
like to see people. Yeah, yeah. You can't see, you know, a person. I like to see a person when I talk.
Well, that was a
But
great invention. You know, FaceTime and Zoom and all that. It was a great way to, to
yeah,
to be able to connect
yeah,
people.
well, yeah, yeah. So, but I'm, you know, I'm not, you know, I think I'm an okay friend. Like I'm there if you need me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I think most people know that about me. You know, my brother-in-law, he's a really good friend of mine. You know, but he messes with me because he knows like I'm a loner. He's like, you know, you can call me and this and that. And he's like, okay, what do you need? You know, but he knows like if he needs something, he'll call me like, hey, bro, you know, this and that. And like, okay, here I come. You know, and that's the type of person I am. I don't need to, you know, talk to people every day or see people every day or be around people. I don't, you know, I don't crave. You know, some people need to socialize, you know, constantly. I don't, you know, I just need you to know that, like, all right, I love you, you know what I'm saying? And if there's something I'm able to do and you need me, I'm there, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's, you know, that's it. Like, live your life. My sister, I used to live in Port Orchard and in this duplex, and my sister ended up moving into the one right next to me. And she was like, you know, she had been in Illinois for a long time. She ended up moving up here. She ended up moving back to Illinois. But while she was up here, we ended up living next to each other. And like I'm older now. I didn't grew into who I'm still growing into who I am, but I had grew more into who I am. And it's like, look, I'm a homebody. I don't, And so she was kind of mad because I never came over to her house. Like
Mm-hmm.
she literally stayed like the next door over. And she was so mad about that. And I had to explain to her, like, you know, I love you, and I know you love me. You're my sister, and I know that if I need you, I can call you. And I pray that, if you need me, I'm there,
Mm-hmm.
and, she asked me to do different stuff, put furniture together, whatever, okay, here I come. And, but I'm not going to hang out, carouse and stuff. The Bible also talk about, staying over people's houses too long, becoming unwelcome, So I'm leaving that, like, I go and I think an hour is long enough over anybody's house, and then I'm ready to go.
Can you send me that Bible verse? I think I'm gonna put it in a frame and just kind of hang it in my living room.
I certainly will. It's in Proverbs. Yes, yes. I look. An hour is long enough, and then I'm ready to go. And it's like, don't take nothing from it because that's who I am. And so I want people to, respect it. Like, sometimes I get like awkwardly, socially awkward. Like people that I don't know, I don't talk a lot. Like this, like if I didn't know you,
Mm-hmm.
like this conversation probably would have been over a long time ago. Like I ain't talking as much to people that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I know you. So I'm like, okay, this is my brother, my mom. All right, you want to talk? Let's talk, and I'm cool with that. But if I don't know you, you're going to get maybe 5 words out of me. And it's like, all
That's gonna be it. No, I hear you. I
it's
hear you.
going to be it.
Well,
Yeah.
Reverend Ellington, tell me, how long have you been married?
Well, I met my wife when I was 18. She was 17. We was together for 8 years before we got married. I don't know how long I've been married, so that's a bad question to ask me. But I do know that we done been together 26 years. Just last February the 26th was our golden anniversary.
Oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
so, yeah, we've been together for 26 years. I think we've been married. Let me see, she 18, 19, maybe 17 years, something like that.
That's some.
Actual like physical papers married. But as far as that, like I said, I met her when I was 18. We've been together since we were that age.
Mm.
And the longest we've been apart was maybe a month. And I was like, okay, she went back to visit family and stuff like that. After we had moved up here and been here for a while, and she was kind of homesick. So it's like, okay, go home, visit family or whatever. And that's about the longest we've been apart. So
Wow.
I say it's been 26 years steady, every day waking up, seeing the same face every day. Yeah, okay, I love you.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So what makes a good spouse? What makes you a good spouse to your wife?
And bro, okay, so this is kind of part of my testimony about who I am.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually how my relationship is what led me to Christ.
Mm.
you know, um, we had we had got married, and we were had bought a house and all this, and I was not happy. You know, we weren't having a good relationship for a while. And it was like, man, I done tried everything, and this is just like, all right. So, like at my lowest point in this relationship, I like called out to God, like, you got to do something because we got kids, and I'm just like, fed up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to go, And God was like, well, you know what? Because I was asking him to like do something with her, he was like, well, you know what? How about you look and focus on you. Don't worry about her.
Mm.
And in that he was telling me that, I can't change her. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror.
Mm-hmm.
God gave me one of those. You're like, look at the man in the mirror. What you done did, this and that and everything, right? Because, like, I wasn't always a good husband, and I've been unfaithful and cheated and all this stuff, and it was just like, but I'm wanting her to be, this perfect wife, and like we're like, what I'm saying, old people knees just, bone grinding against bone, you know what I'm saying? And it's like he like, no, you need to look at you and you need to fix you, you need to worry about you, and so me crying out to God is what actually brought me to the point of accepting my Christianity. Pastor Coleman, I used to drive buses for Kitsap Transit, and I was like the youngest driver there. And I remember one night I'm bringing a bus in, and I take the bus and I park it, I get off. And this little short, little dark dude come up to me, and he get to talking to me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I've always been a respectful person. I don't cut people off, especially my elders. And I'm ready to get out of there. I'm tired. I just want to go get out of my clothes, go have a beer, maybe, it was Friday. So maybe, take a little rest and get out to the club.
Mm-hmm.
And he's witnessing to me, you know, and I'm just listening. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And, he's telling me about, this church he got over on Madrona and this and that or whatever. And I'm like, all right. Yeah. You know, okay. And so that was the end of it. You know, he never came and like bothered me again or nothing else. That was just it. And so when I'm in this very bad place with my wife, you know, God like brings this conversation back to memory. You
Mm-hmm.
know, how how Jesus says, he'll send you the comforter and he'll bring, all things to remembrance. He brings this conversation to back to my memory. I hadn't thought like twice about it since, he had finally shut up and let me walk away. I'm like, okay, whew. you know, I didn't grow up in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so he brings this conversation back to memory, and I'm like, yeah, okay, over on Madrona, I'm getting up, I'm finna go to church. Very weird thing for me to say. And so I get up and, I go shower and, I start getting dressed and stuff. And, my wife, she's like, where you going? I'm like, I'm finna go to church. And she like, okay, can I come with you? I'm like, I don't care. So we get up and we go to church, and we get there and Pastor Coleman's not there. It's his cousin, which I didn't know it was his cousin at the time, but it was his cousin, Pastor Robinson. And you know, we started going to church there, and like I accepted Christ and was like, yeah, I can't keep living like this, and doing this. And we had some real hard conversations, and things are a whole lot better now. But what makes a good spouse is you recognizing that you can't change that person. You
Mm.
know, the Bible tells us that one man watereth, one man planteth and another watereth, but it's God that gives the increase. It don't
Mm.
matter how much you nagging and fussing and, stomping your feet and demanding and this and that, no, you can't change nobody. A person gonna be who they gonna be, and you gotta accept that first. If you're gonna call yourself loving somebody, just like with a friend. And my wife is my bestest best friend. There ain't nothing we don't, hold back from each other. You
Mm.
know, yeah, I go in the bathroom and fart while she's sitting on the toilet. Surely will. That's my bestest best friend.
I
She'll do the
don't even
same
do that
thing
with my
about
best friend.
exactly. That's why I said bestest best friend.
Like, hey man, you better
But
go on with that.
but so realizing that you can't change anybody. You got to accept them for who they is. You got to love who they is. You know, and I had to remember that I love this woman.
Hmm.
And that I never had wanted to do anything hurtful to her or make her sad. There was a point. That sweet spot when you first really start like realizing you love somebody, and it's like, yeah, so God had to bring me back to remember all of that. And it was through a lot of pain and tears, you know and me realizing, what I'm saying, that a man ain't what, what I'm saying, society tries to tell you that a man is.
Hmm.
A man is what God tells you a man is. And then learning that love ain't what society tells us it is. It's what God tells us it is. You know, and so by learning, first who I was as a man, you know, then learning what real love was about. And um I have like my favorite, and she knows this. She gets it for me all the time. But my favorite, one of my favorite parts of the Bible is 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter.
Mm.
Because it's so opposite of what the world says love is. All this lust and sex and all this and that, right? you know so when I learned to, like, started accepting that, things started getting better. And it was a work in progress for a while, but we have to love people, no matter who they is, no matter what the relationship is. You got to love who that person is, and you got to allow people to be who they are. you know and then, and I'm telling you more of what makes a good relationship than what makes me a good spouse or her a good spouse.
Oh, it's awesome.
You
Perfect.
got to, huh?
It's perfect.
Okay. And so then you got to love who people are, let them be who they are. And then you got to also um, be selfish. Oh my goodness. It took
Mm.
me a while to learn how to be selfish, right? Because, like, I always thought, like, all right, I gotta wine and Donna, and I gotta, make sure she's happy and this and that, and you know, and when I learned that, what, I need to make me happy, what I'm saying, and make sure I'm happy first. Man, that was mind blowing, because I realized that, what, if I'm not happy, how can I make somebody else happy? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I gotta take care of me. I gotta take time to take care of me, make sure I'm happy, because when I'm happy, she's happy,
Mm.
you know. And the same thing is true for her. You know what I'm saying? For me, when she's happy, I'm happy, right? And it sounds real cliche, like, oh, um, you know, if you happy, I'm happy. But I mean, it's like on a real level.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I gotta, saying, make sure that, like, I'm, like, happy, you know. And if I'm happy, then I can focus on, saying, the other part of me, which I do believe, the two become one, and man, oh my goodness. If you ever talk to my wife, ask her about it, she'll tell you. When I say, like, we be having, like, phantom pains for each other and stuff, like, we'd come home, like, she'd come home, I come home, or whatever. She'd be like, oh, I got a pain in my lower back right here. I'd be like, what? Me too, right here. And just
Wow.
randomly the same spots to be hurting at the same time and stuff like that,
Really?
and that's the level, like, of connection God has brought us to, where, like,
Mm.
we will physically hurt at the same time and stuff, like her back hurting, she'd be like, "Your back hurt?" Yeah, right here. Yeah, you know, and it's just like so crazy. You know how twins be like, you know, feeling each other or whatever and stuff like that. I
Right.
kind of like that's kind of how we are now. He didn't brought us to that point, and it's so wonderful. Like I've learned how to be vulnerable with my wife, which is very important because I wanted to be this real manly man,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, with me wanting to be this real manly man, um, you know, I was like totally ruining everything. It's like, no, you know, you need to like talk about stuff, you know, so I don't like hold grudges or anything. You know, like I'm gonna tell you, like, okay, you getting on my nerves, and she'll tell me real quick, you getting on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? And I don't, you know, so we're real open with one another now, you know, which is important, you know, because I gotta respect, like, okay, the way I deal with stuff, she don't deal with it the same way. And she'd be like, look, I need a little bit of time, you know what I'm saying, to, you know, process this or that or whatever, you know. Okay, fine. You know, I'm the type I want to deal with it right here, right now. You know what I'm saying? But she don't, you know, operate that way. Okay, that's fine. I give you a little bit of time, you know. And I'm the type, you know, like she'll get mad and she gonna let you know she mad. Okay, I don't care, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like because not to the point where it's like I don't care about her feelings, but it's like okay, I can accept that you're mad. You know, that's fine. That's what I mean when I say I don't care. Like, okay, you're mad. You're entitled to that. Everybody's entitled to their feelings. And so I didn't got to the point where now, like, if she does something that bothers me, I'll just tell her, you know. And I told her that, like, okay, I'm not gonna hold nothing in, and we don't hold stuff back no more. It's like, all right, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm upset. And like for me, dealing with things is like saying, hey, okay, this, that, or the next made me upset. And once I say, like, this is what made me upset, like, it's all gone. I'm fine. Like, we can laugh, joke, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I know about love is that love doesn't intentionally hurt. So when she says, like, hey, something upset me, then I take that serious and say, okay, well, I'm going to do everything I can not to do that anymore because I don't want her to feel that way.
Mm.
And I know that when I tell her that something upset me, she's going to take that serious and try and rectify it so that I'm not, you know, hurt by that anymore. You know, and that's what, you know, relationships need to have, you know, is to have that honesty about like, hey, this, that, or the next. Because without it, you know, you just playing games, you know. But if you
Right.
if somebody loves you and you love somebody, you're not gonna do anything to hurt them. And they're not gonna do anything to hurt you. And so you have to, you know, you gotta like accept that and say, like, yeah, you know, this hurt me, you know. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
No, it did. Thank you. And why it's
you know,
important is, in this time, I think it's really important that folks make connections, right? That they
yeah, yeah,
cultivate, they make and cultivate relationships. And it's already been hard out here, but it's only going to get harder. And we can't do it
yeah,
alone. And, the mission at G2 is self sufficiency. But self sufficiency doesn't mean that you're walking along in the wilderness by yourself. It does mean that you do know how to ask for help. You do know how to collaborate and, build a circle of support around you so that you can do the things that you need to do and and survive and hopefully thrive and not just survive. I have
yeah.
the Bible verse up that you talked about, 1 Corinthians 13, for people to read. As I put up the Facebook of New Horizons Baptist Church, what is something that people might not know about you?
Well, I'll tell you a couple things. um, let me see. Huh, what people don't know about me. Wow. I'm kind of an open book, bruh.
Any interest that people might not know? Earlier, I interviewed someone who was into anime and cartoons, Marvel and DC.
Everybody like the little Marvel movies. That ain't nothing.
Yeah. You play an instrument? Are you a writer? Are you a poet?
Okay, so I like guns.
Mm.
I believe in the Second Amendment wholeheartedly.
All
I like
right.
going target shooting. Like that's my thing. Like, yeah, man, I love going target shooting. I don't believe in like, killing animals, going hunting and all of that. I mean like an actual target, a paper target, like, let's, a target,
Mm-hmm.
not shooting at anything that's living. I love life, but I really like guns. I find them very relaxing. Like to just go out, go shooting, and like yeah, that is just like top top of the day for me. Like all right, I had a ball of fun.
Really? So now, what's your favorite gun to fire on the range?
What do you mean favorite? Okay, come on.
You like them all, huh?
Okay, so I just recently got a shotgun, and so I've never like hit a shotgun before.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like a whole nother level of like, okay, so it's like, okay, so you got like so many different types of firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got, of course, you got handguns, you got rifles, you got shotguns, you got, different types of, weapons, and each one of them is different in their own way, and so they're all fun. I mean, they're all just like, yeah. So I can't say I have a favorite because then I might upset one of the other ones. Like, oh, that's why you be cleaning that one all the time. I think yes. No.
Well, I like shooting the 357 mag. I like the Dirty Harry. It just the flames that come out of the thing, and I mean, it's just so big, it's ridiculous. And
Okay, so I have a 2-inch snub nose 357.
Oh, really?
And when I say I hit and I can't find these for nothing, I got like these home defense rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this was like maybe 7-8 years ago, something like that. When I had first got them, I took them out to the range, and I'm like, like I'm, shooting at the range, the one down past, the new trails in Silverdale or whatever. Huh?
Are they open right now? Or are they closed?
I think they're closed.
They're
As
closed.
I said,
Okay.
this was like years ago.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, so I had these home defense rounds, right? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna, try these out, what I'm saying, just to, see how, they operate, Lord forbid I ever have to, actually use it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I loaded up, I let off one shot. And when I say everybody on the whole range, you know how I go all the way down to like the rifles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody put their weapons down and like leaned back and looked down at me. And the guy that's like next to me, he's like, what is that? I'm like, oh, this is a 357. When I saw this thing like kicked so hard, man, my hand was red. Just one shot. I was like, woo. Man,
That's
shut
crazy.
the whole range down. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a little something about me. Most people, I think, would find like weird, me being, in the ministry and all, but I'm just a person. Look, I like guns.
The shooting range is fun. It's expensive, but it's fun.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, I tell you, we had a really good conversation. I'm hoping that you'll come back because, you're very stimulating, got a lot to talk about, love your perspective. When I was talking with Pastor Coleman, we were talking about maybe, creating some type of a series. One of the things that I was talking to him about was kind of the divestment of black men from the church. And for several different reasons, right? And then you and I kind of talked about it a little bit too, and he and I did as well, about how, there's a lot of separation in the church, in the churches, and how to come together, right? And as things go on, like you said, the moratorium of evictions wear off and everything else, folks are going to need us even more. And so we can't wait on the government. We can't wait on, local or federal government. We can't wait on programs or nonprofits. We really have to be the front runners in taking care of our own, right?
Yeah.
And so I would love if we can come together, both, secular, non-secular, different forms of religion, and just come together as men and have conversations and talk, because I think there's a lot of, men out there, young adults, maybe late teens, early 20s, but even people my age, late 40s, 50s, that are just kind of out there by themselves. They don't feel like they belong anywhere. They may not necessarily identify with the church, but they identify with people, and they want to have a place where they can belong. And it's time for folks to come back home. Is that something that you think you might be interested in joining us in?
No, most definitely, brother. Most definitely. I'm at a stage, in my life where, I'm really learning more about, me. I think that's always, for anybody, I think everybody should always, be lifelong learners, always living to progress, than yourself. You should never get stagnated, So right now, like I was sharing with you earlier, I'm in a stage where I'm teaching myself finances, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just got out of this stage of teaching myself, production and, editing and all that stuff or whatever. So I'm always like, doing something. And I think knowledge gained and not shared is knowledge wasted, And I think we all need to, be willing to connect with one another, on whatever level, the other person is on. Like, hey, God meets us where we are. We should meet one another where we are, and not have these high expectations that, you be here, there, or whatever else to, kind of fit in. No, I love people. So I'm all for that. I think, as a community, we need to, better understand one another, and be able to accept, our differences, and accept that, we're not, singular, that, everybody has a place, in, this world, and have something to offer. And so I think connecting and, not, I think on a grand scale, and I know things, start one step at a time, but I think connecting and, building one another up. The Bible says arm sharpens arm, so I can't sharpen myself,
Mm-hmm.
It's conversations like this where we both grow from,
Facts.
and I think that, that is definitely something I would love to be a part of. And that, I appreciate you bringing me on. I'm sorry I talk so much. I hope you bring me back. And
No,
yeah,
that's
I
what's
think you
needed.
do.
Is
I think
needed.
you do some really, really, crucial work in the community that needs to be done. And so I'm finna be moving into a new stage of my life where I need to start reaching out and, becoming a part of my community, and meeting and meeting people, and letting people know that, hey, I live here and I'm part of the community, and I'm so yeah, I look forward to, to what God has for us next, bro.
Oh, that's fantastic. I want to shoot out the church, New Horizon Baptist Church, right here in Bremerton. Their address is 1003 5th Street, Bremerton, Washington. Literally, for those of you that have been to G2, they are one block up from us. So literally on the corner, historic church. Can't miss them. They do a weekly sermon online, so you can follow them on Facebook. That's
Twice
11.
weekly.
Oh, twice weekly. Okay, so it's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then Wednesday is Bible study. And what is Bible study? Is what time?
No, so I'm doing something new with Bible study. It's on Thursdays.
Okay.
And it's kind of pre-recorded, and I would love to have you on my show.
All right. I'd be
Yeah.
honored to do that.
So it's called 2x2 Studies. It premieres on Thursdays. I try and get them posted where it premieres right between the 6 and 7 o'clock hour.
Okay.
I'm still, kind of working out some kinks in this because it's a new format. As far as like the church goes, I'm doing something a whole lot different as far as Bible study goes that I've not seen done in the church. And so because it's new, it's, there's some kinks there, but they're getting smoothed out. And so I pray people are patient with me as I work it out. But pretty much what the format is kind of similar to what we just did here.
Okay.
A lot shorter though. I try and keep my episodes at about 20, 30 minutes max, and where we discuss, the Bible, and I try, and right now I'm working with a very new, and I do mean very new believer, and so I'm trying to present the Bible in a way that it's relevant to, everyday life and situations, and so we have, we're having conversations, around, the Bible. I'm doing it in a chronological order, going through the Bible chronologically, having these conversations. I'm trying to find other people that are willing to come in and like say, hey, okay, well, let's talk about, this Bible verse, because I know like my calling into the ministry is as a teacher. And I have a wealth of knowledge and perspective, but it's hard for me to just like, kind of like, put it out there without kind of like this questions.
Right.
So people, like, if you ask me something, it's like, okay, we can talk about it this way or that way or whatever. Like pretty much everything we talked about tonight, I could have put it into a biblical perspective. But I know people don't want to get beat down by the Bible, and that ain't what you call me on here for.
Wherever the conversation goes is where it goes. It's all good.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing on Thursdays, and like I said, just having like just like this, just frank conversations, and just chronologically, just showing how the Bible is still relevant today, to everyday situations.
Well, think about it. You don't have to answer me on here, but that might be something I'd be interested in simulcasting, right? To kind of get the message out and kind of be in there. I love the idea of going through chronological order, and also being, new Christians or new to the word. And folks have so many questions, and to be in a space where it's safe to ask questions and say, hey, I don't know. Explain it to me, or that doesn't really make sense to me. What is the interpretation of this? I kind of see it this way. Is that accurate? You know what I'm saying? Just to ask those questions in a safe environment. I think that's really powerful, and I think that's another way to make connections. So I extend that offer to you, and just think about if you want to do that. But yeah, I'd come on Thursdays and put my slot, because I broadcast at 6:30. And and just say, hey, you know what, we're going to simul broadcast, and then we'll be there and kind of promote that and help to get that out for sure.
Well, we can broadcast on your channel, because like I say, I pre-record, in case I have to do any editing.
Oh, got you. Oh, got you.
Because I'm trying to, I'm trying to reach, everybody. And I know people are very cognizant of their time, and that's why I keep them at 20 to 30 minutes, so people aren't feeling obligated to, oh, I got to sit through a whole hour, or, I'm not going to understand or get it, So I'm taking my time real slowly on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm working out the kinks, because I think the first few times I went a little bit too quick. And so last week I really just slowed down. Yesterday I didn't do anything because, again, I wasn't at 100. I was under the weather. But so I'm going to be back on next Thursday, but I'm just keeping them at 20, 30 minutes. I'd love to collaborate with you on it. I can record it on my end, and then that way, whatever I need to chop down to keep it at that time limit. So just to keep people engaged and make sure that, they're not feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
Because I do want to reach, mature Christians, but also I want to reach, new believers, because I feel like there has been this big falling away from the church, and, there's a lot of misunderstanding, misnomers, miscommunication, a lot of missing going on as far as the church. And so I want to, start giving it back in little small increments that are bite-sized and easy to, easy to consume.
Well, and if I may, Rev, I just put the Bible verse that you had up about love before, and for me, one of the reasons why this is really intriguing to me is this. And so, if I read the verse, it says, "If I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal." Right. So I'm just out there just making noise if I don't have love. Right. If I have the gift,
loud,
if I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I have nothing. Right. So again, I kind of think about the people that are inherently rich that end up committing suicide, or they're depressed. Right. You have the whole world, but you're still not happy, and you're missing love in your life. If I give all my possessions to the poor, and I give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And so I've got to be cognizant of that myself, right? I give of myself. I got to be, cognizant of self-care when I'm overextending myself, making sure that I have people that are surrounding me that I love and love me. Otherwise, my work is in vain, right? And I don't want to be a martyr. So I don't have a current church home. I would say right now I'm more spiritual than religious, even though I'm a PK kid, right? But I think it's powerful, because you can take, if you look at, for someone who may not be a believer, you can look at the Bible as a reference, like any other work of fiction or nonfiction, and it can be a teaching tool. So whether or not you become a Christian or not, I think there's power in learning, as you said, professional development, lifelong learning. So, I say that to just encourage people to, might be like, nah, I can't, I don't feel that, that's why I wanted to kind of dissect what that meant to me, taking that in, right? And that doesn't necessarily even have anything to do with God per se, but just as, your work, as you live your life, through the world, how you walk through the world. Love is so very important. And in this verse, it's saying that, hey, and now these three remain: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And through love, I think we solve so many problems. True story?
Yes. I that's what I said. This is like one of my top two parts of the Bible. I can't say verse because it's more than one verse, but the love chapter, that spoke to me in a way that just like really put, it into perspective, put life into perspective, and to understand, that it's not, this lust thing. The thing is, bruh, we have to, what I'm saying, that's why I kept saying, we got to accept people the way they are and love them for who they are, the way they are. And, I believe, I don't look at my Bible as, a work of fiction. I believe, I look at it as nonfiction. This is living to me. This word is alive to me. And I'm excited. I get excited to talk about it. I get excited, about sharing it and, helping people get a greater understanding out of it. There again, this is one of the big misses. A lot of misunderstanding goes on, when people try and read this, and a lot of, there's been a lot of misuse of this. You remember that book, that movie, Book of Eli?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
movie.
sometimes I feel like that guy got a hold of this book, you know, and he's using it, and in a way he did. You remember, Satan, he was quoting scripture to Jesus when he was trying to tempt him. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the enemy knows scripture, and the thing is, the way we combat that is, with a true understanding and a true knowledge of, what these verses mean, and how they apply, to us. There's somebody out there, right now that, ain't feeling too good about themselves, and probably ain't thinking they all, that pretty. Some little girl out there trying to live up to, the image of Angela Jolie or Janet Jackson or whatever. But that's because they don't know that God says, look, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. You're perfect. You're made in the image of the Creator. And so I want to share, all of this love that God has packed up for us in this, this little, basic instructions before leaving Earth, as some people like to call it. And just want to kind of share with them. I know I can be goofy and quirky and say little cheesy stuff, but my heart is really in this, bruh. And I am like, a pit bull with a bone. I don't like, give up easy. And, if people go onto our Facebook page, and this is a good example, they go on our Facebook page and they look, back to, where, how, like, look at one of our services from a year ago, and then like look at last week's. They're gonna see like night and day, and that's because like I wasn't giving up. Like I wanted to present, something visually, what I'm saying, appealing, because we're competing with the world, and I understand that, like, what I'm doing is competition against, their Thursday night show. I'm competing against, their Wheel of Fortune, or whatever it is they watch at, 7
Thursday
o'clock or
night
whatever.
football, NBA, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm competing against that. So I got to keep it short, where they can like watch a little bit during the commercial break, hit the pause, finish watching, whatever. I know what I'm competing against, but I know in the end, no matter what, God gets the glory, He gets the victory, the devil's defeated. So because I know what the end is already, I'm willing to, like tranche through until, I get, get it down. And so with that being said, next week, I want you to give me a call, because I'm gonna come down. I see what you're doing. I like and that's something I'm working on now, is intros and outros. I gotta redo some. I've been crazy busy, but I want to come down and help you, stabilize, your stream, so that when you're doing your podcast, you're not having these dropping issues. So, and once you give me a call next week, so we can set up a time, I can come down there and see what you got going. And I want to invite you down here so you can kind of see my setup because I got like a whole studio
Oh,
going.
absolutely.
I got two studios actually.
Oh, do you?
But yeah, so yeah, I wanna like I said, iron sharpens iron. I was working with Pastor Johnson. He didn't call me back, but helping him get his stream, going up and stuff. Because I taught myself all of this, but I'm not finna I'm not finna keep it to myself.
Right.
Okay. So I don't know if you remember, like back in the day when everybody was selling the Fire Sticks for $100.
Mm-hmm.
You get all the movies and all this and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was I went and bought one, and then I reverse engineered it, figured out what they did, how they did it, and then I started telling people like, hey, you get a Fire Stick, I'll hook it up for you. Don't worry about paying me, because that's how I am. I'm not like, come on, the thing costs $40. Why are you charging $100 something to take you 5 minutes? You wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm gonna expose that and I'm gonna help you out. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I appreciate it.
That's how I am. So Pastor Johnson, he called, he like, hey, can you help me out? So I showed him what stuff to get. He was supposed to call me back, so I don't know what happened. I'm gonna reach out to him, make sure everything's good. But I want to come down there and share what knowledge I didn't learn and help you out as well.
Well, while you were talking, and I really appreciate that. I was scrolling down on your website because you were telling people, well, if you go to the website, so that's what's happening right now. But I see you use Restream, so I haven't used that.
Yeah.
So that might be what I need to do.
No. So I only use Restream because we're multi casting. I'm casting to YouTube and to Facebook and
me too.
And Periscope all at the same time. Oh, gotcha. So you're multicasting?
Yeah, we're on YouTube and Facebook right now.
Yeah, so you might want to pick up Restream.
Okay.
What I'm saying, it's pretty reasonable, like $20 a month, and I work great with that, and I'm using OBS.
I'm using OBS, but it seems to be giving me fits right now. It's Zoom. Zoom is the one that's really killing me. I don't know what's going on with Zoom, and I paid for Zoom for a year, but it's just it keeps crashing.
So if you pick up the OBS, you could still if you pick up the Restream, you could still like have your guests on and stuff, but you ain't gonna have to worry about Zoom. Yeah. That's why I need to. Yeah, that's why I need to get you down here so I can show you some stuff. And I got you. Don't worry about it.
Well, I appreciate it. We have gone almost 4.5 hours, so I got to say, I really appreciate your time.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. You broke the record. Hey, I can't think of this is my purpose. I'm doing my purpose, so I'm happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm fulfilled. So it doesn't feel like that amount of time for me.
No,
and there's something in this time that someone needs to hear and is going to gain information for them. What I love about YouTube is this stuff just lives there, right? So someone might not hear this for 2 years, but when they hear it, that's when they need it. So it feels good to me to do this. I tell everyone that I'm talking to, 2021, Reverend Ellington feels different. People seem more collaborative, like they're ready to. It's not talk anymore. People aren't just tweeting or Facebooking about what needs to change. It's now time to take action, and people are coming out of their silos and saying, "All right, come on, let's work together. Let's do this." In almost every interview, that's where it's been for me.
Amen. I feel you on that one, brother, and I'm right there in that mode. I know my wife gonna kill me because she gotta come pick me up. I'm at the church still.
Oh, you're at the
church? Yeah. She probably been calling my other phone. I gotta check it. And she might been calling this one. I don't know, but I know I'm be in a lot of trouble.
Well, I appreciate you. I'll start the theme music.
All right, brother.
I am Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. Great Friday night. Our guest again was Reverend Michael Ellington. He is a minister at New Horizon Baptist Church, which again is just a block away from G2 on 1003 Fifth Avenue. Again, you heard all about the new Bible study that's going to be coming up on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. I'll give you updates. And then, of course, there's Sunday church service, which is at 11 a.m. So just go to their Facebook page, which I have put on the site. There were a lot of books that Reverend Ellington referenced. Those are in the chat, and those are also up as I started pulling them up on the website as he talked about them, so you have that information. Again, you will see the latest interview with Ron Atkins and Full Circle Athletics that'll probably be uploaded tomorrow. Other than that, we will be back Monday night at 6:30 for more of the same. So have a good one. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, people. All right. Bye-bye.
Amen. All right.
Thanks, Rev.
Hey, no problem, man. I hit a ball. I did not realize it was this late. Until you was like, it's been 4 hours. What? Yeah. Oh, man, this was good. I really appreciate you.
Build back. Oh, I hate that, but it is what it is. Till 5. Okay.